Hi, I just wanted to take the opportunity to update you on some of the campaign work that I've been doing with regards to access to optician services. We know that deaf people face many barriers when trying to access these services. And as you'll know from my dad's story, that when he tried to attend Vision Express with floaters in his vision, due to communication difficulties, they missed an opportunity to diagnose his cancer. Further on down his health journey, he also went to SpecSavers to try and book a sight test. Again, there they refused to book interpreters, but then DVLA mandated that my father went to SpecSavers for a sight test for his medical driving licence, and yet again they refused to book a sign language interpreter. I submitted complaints to both of these services and their responses have been very different. Vision Express immediately offered an apology and made a commitment to booking interpreters in the future, whereas SpecSavers' response was that the deaf person should lip read, they should bring their own interpreter or family member to help with communication, or they should write things down on pen and paper throughout the interaction. As time's gone on, I've wrote a letter to His Royal Highness King Charles, because King Charles has actually helped my father in the past when my father wanted to become a teacher and the local college wouldn't provide an interpreter for him to access the course. King Charles mandated that they do so. So I thought, well, maybe if I can write a letter to him, explain my dad's story, he might help us again. So that letter I copied and sent to Vision Express and also sent to SpecSavers, and their responses have been completely different. A senior manager from Vision Express contacted me to request a meeting, a virtual meeting, so they could offer a personal apology directly to the family. They also stated they would like to learn from their mistakes and know what changes they could make in their service delivery moving forward. I thought this was a great response. I had the meeting today and the manager was lovely. I explained that there was a potential for them to set up VRS services. So that would mean that if a deaf person attended the Vision Express with symptoms that needed to be responded to quickly, they could use a VRS interpreter for the deaf person to explain those symptoms, and that would save any delay in diagnosis. And it would also mean that if a deaf person wanted to go in the shop and make an appointment for a face-to-face interpreter, they could do so via VRS. They could agree a right time, their interpreting preference. And Vision Express were really good in taking in this recommendation. They said they would take this forward. And they also told me that they already have a national contract with an interpreting agency, which means that they will be providing BSL interpreters moving forward face-to-face in their stores. We also talked about the Accessible Information Standard, or AIS for short. They didn't know about it, so we talked about it, about how there's a duty for health providers to ask a deaf person what their communication preferences were, to make sure it was recorded on their systems, and then if they made a referral to a hospital, the information was already there as to what the communication needs or preferences were. They were really keen to take this forward and follow up with the AIS, and I just thought it was a really positive response. It was a really positive meeting. SpecSavers' response was completely different. In their responses, which was via email, they stated that a deaf person should write down messages between the optician and themselves, and they would class that as a reasonable adjustment. I stated that was not reasonable because some deaf people did not have full access to English language because they're BSL users, so written format's not appropriate. So then they said that a deaf person should lip read. So I responded again, it's not appropriate because you're conducting assessments in dark rooms with people who are already experiencing eye issues. Also, not all deaf people are skilled lip readers, and their barriers to English might prevent the lip reading from being effective. So in response, they said, well, a deaf person should bring their own interpreter or family member or friend to translate. And I said that, again, this is not appropriate because would you choose anybody to come and do a sight test for you? No, because an optometrist is a professional, a trained professional, and you need to provide trained professional sign language interpreters. Again, their next response was a deaf person should pay themselves for a sign language interpreter or ask a local charity to pay. So I went on Google and found that Specsavers' annual turnover and profits are very high because they are a global company and their profits are very high. So I responded saying it's not appropriate to ask a deaf person to pay themselves or a charity because charities have limited funds, especially considering you are a very rich company who make their money from not only sight services but audiology services. Have they responded? No, it's all gone quiet. They've stopped communications. So I found the contact details from a very senior manager. I've sent them an email and shown the conversations that I've had with customer services and also copied in the letters to the HRH letter, and I'm waiting to hear back from them. So I will give you more updates as and when I know more in the future. But for now, I feel like Specsavers in their advertising, they say, should have gone to Specsavers. Well, if you're deaf, definitely don't go to Specsavers. Thanks for watching.